Hello, hello, and welcome everyone. Welcome back to Friday Night Writing. This is Angie, Byte-Sized Booksmith, and we have been off for 2 whole weeks. I feel like it's been a month. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope you guys are having a great start to your summer. For those of us, I guess it's in the Northern Hemisphere. Uh, anyway, today we are going to do something a little bit different. While I am getting the Notion Doc link added to the chat, what are you guys reading? I would love to know what you guys are reading. I will share what I am reading here in a second. Let me get this added to the chat. Okay. Let me get that pinned. There we go. Okay. So I am currently reading Wyvern's Gold by A.H. Hadley. So it's different. It's definitely romantic-y. I'm struggling. It's really slow to start. Anywho, so what are you guys reading? I would love to know. We're going to give people a couple more minutes to get here, and then we will dive in. I've got a couple things on the agenda for today, and then we'll do some questions if anyone has any. We'll also talk about where we are on the Dead and Delivered project. And if we have some time, we'll also talk about how or the fact that I'm actually vibe coding in general is just weird, but I'm working on 2 different projects, and I wanted to kind of share a little bit about what I'm doing with you guys. So, Zilia, welcome. Happy Friday to you as well. I actually had to, let's see if this works. Look at that. I actually had to switch browsers for some reason. It would no longer work in Chrome. So I am using, I think, Firefox. And okay, apparently I have to click it again for it to go away. But hey, Alicia, nice to see you. Happy Friday. I enjoyed your latest post on Substack. It was fantastic. Alicia is the person to talk to if you are interested in growing your, I'm going to say universe, your author universe on Pinterest. So nice to see you. We'll give it one more minute and then we'll dive in. I will say that it's been super duper busy. Ooh, okay. So Bonnie is reading Wicked Lies by Anna Hong and The Bourbon Kings by J.R. Ward. I've not read anything by either of them. I've heard of J.R. Ward, and I know it's like required reading for some things. I'm going to say paranormal romance probably. But I haven't read anything by J.R. Ward. I will say that I did get an ARC copy of a book I've been waiting on just before the call. So I am super excited about that. I'm going to reread the entire series. I think it's book number 4. And then read the ARC for book number 4. I'm super excited. Okay. Let's we'll do what I normally do. And let me tell you a little bit about the project that we have been working on. So if you're new here, J.R. Ward is the same person that wrote the Black Dagger Brotherhood. Now, I was thinking in my head, I was like, I need to ask you when that's starting because I know that's coming to Passion Flix. Is that correct? Um, but a little bit about the project we're doing. So, the series that we're writing is Dead and Delivered, and the first book is called Return to Sender. Um, the original assignment was to, and it's Bonnie's fault, by the way, since you're here. Bonnie wanted to do a novel inspired by The Dresden Files by Jim Butcher. And so we started putting together some categories, and it was urban fantasy, paranormal suspense, specifically vampires, as well as private investigator mysteries. So these are all Amazon categories. Kind of pulled all that data together, came up with a developmental editor, which is available. Okay, episode 2 just dropped yesterday, and yes, it's on Netflix. Okay, awesome. So originally we started with a 3-book series. It has grown now to a 5-book series. Um, I have figured out all the plots for all of um, the different arcs for the series and the subplots. It's all in a beautiful little spreadsheet. Um, I want to say, was it this week? May 16th? Yeah, right here. Google spreadsheet right there. And it has all that good info in it. So we wanted to have a romantic subplot because romantasy is huge right now. A female protagonist, a morally ambiguous male lead, and let me tell you, he's very morally ambiguous. And we wanted to have some tropes in there of reluctant hero, found family, grumpy sunshine, and our chick is our protagonist is actually the grumpy one, which I'm excited about. And then we also have a ghost sidekick with attitude and a cursed / gifted main character. So you can consider it a curse. You can consider it something good, but we shall see. So let's take a look at what we got done last time. So if you come here to today's date, you can see the synopsis that we came up with, I think, the previous week of the last episode. So this is kind of our long synopsis for book 1. From this point, let's go into the series codex. So over the course of our time together, we have put together this fantastic series codex. So we've got the series info, we've got information about all of the species that are in our world. We've got information on book 1, including here's our story arcs. So these are the main parts of the story. And then we have our additional subplots. And then here's that synopsis right here. And we can use this for coming up with our outline. We can use this for figuring out what characters we're going to need to add to the story. So that's what we're going to be doing next. I also have lots of sections of lore because this is quite a large world. So I overbuilt, and that's super duper easy to do, especially if you are using the LLMs. It's super easy to overbuild your world. Would I do it again this way? Probably, because I like to have large worlds and universes. There's definitely a lot of room for other characters to join this universe. And, if I was, writing it to be published, there's definitely a lot of wiggle room there. So we've got our magic systems mechanics. So how does magic work in the world? We've got our magical laws and enforcement, since our main character is actually a detective. So we need to know how, that all works. Also, the supernatural governance and the veil. So the humans are not aware of the supernatural. And so this talks about how they, maintain the veil. We've got our underworld factions. So we've got the bad guys, and then we have the not so bad guys, and then we have supernatural trafficking and illegal trade as well. We made that, we kind of put that to be a little bit separate because unfortunately, trafficking of individuals, specifically magic, is rampant in this world. So, and because of that, that's part of how we end up with the protagonist becoming a vampire. We've also got our vampire society and structure. Down here we have our characters. So these are the main characters. We've got Charlie, Eddie, Kingston. He is our, what do I want to call him? He's our sunshine. We've got Lucetta Carmina, who is our big, big, big bad. And then we have Veritas the Destroyer, who's a manticore who looks like a cat. And then we have 2 locations so far. So we've got our Cleveland, Ohio setting. Master Tamari, hello. And then we have the Dead Letter Office, which is the setting for the entire series. So for lore, we have some additional items, such as black markets, and under here we have these mystery questions. So who benefits from the mystery remaining unsolved? I don't even remember. There we go. What kinds of twists could only happen in your world? I don't think I've shown you guys this yet. And okay, those were the only big ones that I had in there. Myths, beliefs, and traditions for actually, I think, most of the different races that are in the world. And then there's also some additional questions about the secrets. So, what's the secret history of the supernatural world? Are there factions, relics, or conspiracies that will grow over multiple books? And yes, the Carmina Syndicate. And all of this was taken into consideration when we were building the different arcs. So that's where a lot of this information was used. So what are the truths in what truth is the protagonist unaware of at the start? So big one is well, she doesn't know who turned her. And so that with the whole conspiracy as well. And then we've got novel clock in here as well. We use the novel clock to help put our story into a story, to take all of this information and to make it make sense, to build those arcs and to come up with our synopsis. And then the only other thing I have in here is the story genre is urban fantasy mystery. So a few of these items are actually already going to show up in Return to Sender. I haven't decided if I'm going to keep them in there or not yet, because at the beginning of the story, she's human. Charlie is human. And also, she doesn't know that the supernatural exists. So, as someone who has used the LLMs quite a bit in writing, I know that they like to rush the story and they like to give away all the goodies. So, I have been testing on my own whether or not I should add in information about the supernatural or not, because I don't want to give it all away at the beginning. So I will let you know how that goes and the results of my experimentation. But that is where we are right now. So we are going to next work on our outline. We need to figure out what characters we still need. And I'm going to be honest with you, to some degree, I'm going to be kind of pantsing it. So I'm not going to stick so close to our outline that I'm going to allow it to hurt the story. I'm going to allow some wiggle room for the LLM uh, to give me good ideas. And if the ideas aren't good, I will rein it back in. So, and I'll show you how I do that when we start writing, which I hope we are going to be writing by the end of the month. So I know I said we would try to start writing in June. We just didn't get there. So, okay. Next, I want to dive into there are two new prompts that I've actually shared in the Novelcrafter community. They are actually available to you already here on the page. If you come down here to continue writing and describe, both of these prompts are text replacement prompts, and they both have two very different reasons for being. But they are actually tools from other LLM, or excuse me, other writing softwares. So, continue writing is actually based upon something from uh, Novel AI. So, there's some things that you can do in Novel AI where you basically are in the middle of a paragraph and you can quite literally start writing uh, in the middle of a sentence. Um, and then there's also this one called Describe. And this is actually something that's inside of Sudowrite. And inside of Sudowrite, you're able to click a button and it will, depending on what choices you have made, it will describe the thing using specific senses. So let me show you what the heck I'm talking about. I will also say um, there is also videos on how these work in the Novelcrafter Discord, and you can find those. Um, I forget what the channel's called, but the videos are there as well. Okay, we're actually going to use this one here, Galactic War Prize, because I don't have any writing inside of the other file yet. And so let's just come through here. We'll do continue writing first. And so I'm just going to say, okay, I'm going to come in here. I'm going to delete a bunch of stuff. And so I want to continue writing from this spot. Okay. As it is, if you want to continue writing, you have to come here and hit continue writing. And so you can't continue from where it is right now in the middle of this paragraph. You actually have to give it some instructions and have it continue the story that way. So someone had asked me to make it to where we could do it from inside of the paragraph. Also, I added the ability for you to put brackets to give it instructions as well. So what kind of gesture? Each word dropped like molten steel, making my guards shift their weight. And then I have to be able to spell his name. Drazik gets more angry. And that's all I'm going to tell it. So I'm going to let it continue. And all I do is select the phrases or all of this text. I think there's a minimum of 4 words that you can use. I think you have to have more than 4 words for it to continue. So we'll go here to continue. And then we have to pick our LLM. But you can actually come down here to tweak and generate and pick how many words you want. So standard, it's about 180 to 200 words, just the standard prompt. If you want a little less, if you just want to finish off the beat that you were on, you can do 100, or you can do something more along the lines of 500. I'm going to go ahead and hit 250, and I don't want Sonnet 4, I want 3.7, and I'll hit generate. Okay. Sometimes it removes the instructions, sometimes it doesn't, but you can just get rid of it. But it does continue from where you were and follows your instructions. So you can go ahead. It gave me 228 words, which it also included the original words as well. So keep that in mind. But you can go ahead, you can apply this, you can make your comments, you can do whatever it is that you wish to do. So that is how you use that tool. So let's talk about describe. So each word dropped like molten steel. Let's see. Is there anything that's like physical that we can use? Uh, let's see. Oh, you can see right here. That's one I did the other day. Okay. My reflection caught in the transparisteel. Okay. And actually, you know what? I already used describe on that part. So we'll move to a different section. The jewelry wrapped in a razor wire. Okay. We'll just do this part right here. I'm going to go ahead and select it all like I did with the last one. Come here to describe. Okay. So now we have options. We can choose to have all of the senses get involved. So sight, smell, taste, touch, sound, or we can do them individually, or we can use this add metaphor, which will either put a metaphor or a simile in whatever it is that you've written. So I, for this, am going to put sight. I'll use Claude 3.7, but I do want to show you one thing really quick before I do this. Coming down here again to tweak and generate. If you want to, and you want to do maybe like sight and, sound, you can put sight and sound right here. So you're not limited by what I've provided you. You can actually take it further. In fact, one of the folks has actually already provided some presets to go with this prompt to where you can, if the person is scared or if the person is angry, and add that emotion into what they're seeing, what they're smelling, what they're hearing. So definitely check that out. I think it was Neural Splice who did that. So thank you. But I'm going to come back here and I will go, oops, it unselected me. I'm going to describe the site and we'll use 3.7. Okay. And so what it does is it just gets more specific on what you're seeing. And that's it. So if it's too much, dial it back. If it's not enough, then you can always just discard it or retry. So I'll just go ahead and apply. So it's just giving you more stuff. So gleaming white hole, reflecting the distant stars. So it's more eye candy for your readers. Okay, so that is the 2 new prompts. We've also talked about the updates and what is next in the project. So now let's talk about, I've had a couple of people ask me here recently, how do you continue with a project that you started pre-AI? And actually this came up in a conversation the other day even. And so let's go and we will create a new novel. The sad explosive spring. Okay. That really sounds depressing, but let's let it go. Okay. So let's talk about your pre-AI story and how to get it into Novelcrafter. So I'm assuming that you haven't finished it yet and that you're going to want to finish your story using Novelcrafter, which great idea. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start building the structure for your story here in the plan outline area. So you'll add your acts, you'll add your chapters, and you'll add your scenes. So we'll just pretend that I've got these 2 chapters here. They're all done. And this is all I'm going to do to start. Then I'm going to copy what I've already written into these chapters in the scenes. Okay. There's a couple reasons for this. The first and the biggest one is going to be you need to have a scene summary. Okay. There's a secondary reason for it, and I'll tell you in a second. But the fact of the matter is, you need scene summaries. Let me go to a book that actually has scene summaries. One sec. Okay. So this is a book that has scene summaries, and I actually use a prompt that gives me 500-word scene summaries versus the normal 50-word scene summaries. Why do I do this, you ask? Great question, by the way. Let's take a little look at the prompt that you use to write prose, and I'll explain why. I, of course, have my own prose writing prompts, but we'll go to the general purpose one. We'll come here to the instructions, and I'm going to highlight something. Let's go find it. Hold on, gotta find it. There it is. Right here. Include all scene summaries up until, but excluding, this scene. And it's called This is the Story So Far, Story So Far. Okay. So when you are writing, the LLM isn't looking at what you have written previously, with the exception of the previous 650 words. So what it's looking at is your scene summaries. It needs to know what you've written already, but it's not going to give it all of that text, because then, it has less room to work with to return to you new words. So that is what the scene summaries are for. It's to let the LLM know what has happened before the chapter that or the scene that you're currently writing. So anytime you're putting anything new in Write, you need to make sure that you're updating your scene summary. And that's whether or not you're starting with you're continuing a pre-AI story or not. You need to make sure that you're keeping that updated. So how do you do a scene summary? So you're going to come here and hit summarize scene. Okay. You can come down here. Again, mine is a little bit longer. I like 500 words, but you don't have to use mine, because now the changes that happen to Novelcrafter, you're able to do them yourself. So you can just come in here and hit 500. It does the same exact thing that mine did, that I had to create a custom prompt for. Now, when you are creating your scene summaries, I highly, highly recommend using one of the GPT models. I usually use GPT 4.0. I've started using GPT 4.1. I find that the scene summary that you get is a lot more cleaner. It's a lot more crisp, and it's a lot more accurate when you use one of the GPTs. It's just something about GPT. It is much more logical, and it just gives, in my, humble opinion, it gives a better scene summary. You can 100% test this yourself, but if I'm providing something to the LLM to let it know hey, this is what I wrote before. I want it to be accurate and I want it to be good. So when it continues the story, I know I'm giving it the best input. Okay. So the second thing is you don't have a codex. So how do you get a codex? Great question. You're going to have to, uh, the easiest way, I should say, if you didn't already have a book Bible that you used, is to um, create scene summaries. Okay. I use scene summaries when I'm writing stories. Um, I'm sure if you've been around for any period of time, you have seen my scene summary. Hold on. Let's scroll. I've got a lot of stuff here. Excuse me. Scene brief. I used the wrong term. Sorry about that. You want to create a scene brief that talks about what happened in your scene, pulls out the characters, pulls out the locations. Um, and let me show you that here in a second. But so I work and I write from a scene brief. And we can actually see one of those right here. So this is a scene brief. It includes the setting, the date, the time of day, estimated duration of the scene. So how long does the scene last? Time since the previous scene. So has it been an hour? Has it been 10 days? One thing that as you are a AI assisted writer, you're going to learn is the LLM doesn't understand time. It doesn't. If you give it a number of dates, it looks at it as just, hey, that's a number of dates. It doesn't understand, you know, what they mean other than it's just a list. So you have to provide it with additional context for it to understand any kind of time. So it's also going to have your characters, main conflict, what happens in the scene, the cliffhanger or the ending of the scene. I also include what's called spatial orientation notes. So, what is in the room with your character? Not just the characters in this room, but is there a couch in the middle of it? I mean, I don't want the character walking through the couch. Um, Someone mentioned that their character had picked up a glass and taken a drink out of it and finished it and then took more drinks out of the same glass. Or they refilled the glass multiple times in their scene because, it the LLM didn't know. You're the human, you're the one who has to control it. But I found that adding these spatial orientation notes, not only here, but also in my codex, makes it a lot easier for me to not have people walking through walls. I mean, yeah, we're writing about ghosts, but my main character doesn't need to walk through walls. And then I also have some notes on time flow inside of the scene. If you want to have this, boom, it's right here. And you guys can use it. So, what you're going to want to do is, let's say you've got, actually don't have very much in this one, but let's go back. We'll go here to Deadlands and Demon Deals. And we'll go to chat. And we will give it some context. Oops, not what I wanted to do. I want context. I want scene 1. There we go. And let's get this. Please give me a scene summary for this scene. use the following format. Okay. I will use GPT-4.1. Again, logic is much more important at this point. And we'll go ahead and hit send. So now you're working from the prose and working backwards. So what were the scene beats? Those are right here. So that just tells you what happened in the scene. This tells you about, here's our spatial orientation, here's the arc, here's our characters, and here's our setting. So what are we going to do? We're going to take all of this information, and this is what we will use to build our codex from having all of that information and working our way backwards. Maybe after I finish this project, we can work on something that I have that's unpublished. And is that something you guys would be interested in? And we can do this for real. Let me know. I'm going to transition now into talking about custom categories. Unless people have questions, please feel free to interrupt. I had someone who was confused about how to set them up. So I want to go over that again. And we'll talk a little bit more about like why we use them. And I think the best, so we'll look at this one. So for this one, I actually have the races. I've also got the story info, and those are my only 2 custom categories. And Alicia says yes to starting a project from scratch, or not from scratch, one that's already underway. I will say, Notebook LM was fantastic. I actually started a project. I'm not going to actually be able to finish it. I have too much on my plate right now. But kind of brought it back from the dead. And I used Notebook LM to help me parse through all the information and create my codex entries. I will say it was a ton of work, but it worked. So just, if you don't want to do it the way that I suggested, that's another way to do it. And I've showed in the past, I think I've shown in the past how to work with Notebook LM. Yes, I did in this project, as well as share a prompt you can use inside of there, um, kind of like my developmental editor prompts that I use in Novelcrafter, but um, to work in Notebook LM. Okay. So if you are going to create custom categories, I use custom categories, and actually you've seen even in here, uh, usually for things like different races of people, different types of races, even. So if you look at Dead and Delivered, so I've got all the different species are their individual um, area, so their individual category. I've also got information about the series itself. Information about book 1 is separate from everything else, and I've got everything colored. And then I have different types of lore. So how did I set all those up? I came up here and I came down to custom categories. So this is the little gear icon next to add entry, custom categories. And it truly is as simple as hitting new and adding this information here. So each category has to have a name. By default, the categories are in alphabetical order. So if you want a custom order, you're going to have to do something like this. I put 0, 1 because if you do just one, then it'll be 1 and then 10, 11, 12. So if you want it to be 1, 2, 3, you have to put a 0 in front. I think you can also do A, B, C. Um, but then you run into issues with, well, B, and then you forgot book 1. So, I mean, I guess if you keep them all consistent, then you're good to go there. You need to decide if this is going to apply to just this novel or if this applies to the entire series, which, if you're writing a series and you want it to apply to everything, that's great. Here's where you select your color. I have a tendency to use blue all the time when I'm doing my series info, so that's why I went with blue. Now, you need to associate a tag. So, when you are creating this item in your codex, you apply the tag to it, and then when you do that, it applies it, puts it in that quote unquote folder, that category folder. Now, this part here, associated types. What does that mean? So, it's looking right now in any type of codex entry for this tag. Okay. But let's say, for instance, you have a, uh, a custom category for your main cast. Okay. So if you have one for your main cast, that is a character, and you'll potentially only want to include characters. So all you would do is click characters, and then it would only look in that section. So in this case, series info, I think all of them are actually listed as other. So in theory, I could just click other and we'd be all fine. But I didn't really care that much. So I went ahead and left it. Also, you're able to add specific custom details that apply only to um, or apply specifically to items in that category. So, for instance, let's see, which one are we on? If we were in species, you might want to have a drop down that allows you to choose which species the person is. And that would be a custom detail. And, you could attach it to here. Um, you can also do, something similar if it's like different types of characters. So are they a bad guy? Are they a good guy? Are they um where do they go? Where do they work? So those are all different types of custom details that you can choose. When I do custom details, I will typically do um only a few. And the reason that I only do a few is because when you go and you export your codex, those custom details are not included in the export. At least they aren't included in the main export file, the HTML file. Those are actually included in separate individual markdown files, and they're a pain in the butt to track. So I have a tendency to either don't use them or I will use them very sparingly. Um, Physical appearance. I'll also sometimes do their uh, verbal communication style, and I will sometimes do their nonverbal communication style. As opposed to when I started, I would have a whole different other codex entry for those details. Okay, so here we go. So that's species. I've got it set for green. Now, it's only available in lore and others, and it has a tag of species. Book 1, again, it says those are orange. The tag is book one, and it can actually be anything. So let's go and look at these actual codex entries. So we'll come here to the A story. So this is the book one main story arc, which is our protagonist is turned into a vampire. And if we come up here, we can see this is her tag, book one. And the other tags for the other custom categories are here as well. So other than, putting things in an order that makes sense and turning them colors so you can see them whenever you're writing, why use custom categories? Because now in chat, we can pull them into context. So let's see, entries by category. I could pull those categories that I have custom categories for. So I can chat with book one, all of my information about book one. I can chat with my species and add this additional information in there and decide, hey, maybe I want to add an additional species that wasn't there. Who should I add? I also can chat with my series and the information about it. Maybe I decide that I want to change the name of the book, or maybe I want to change the name of the series. Well, all that information that I have already collected on those items is there, and I can have a conversation with that information into context. Okay. So we talked about what are custom categories. We talked about how to set them up and how to use them. Honestly, I love them for the organizational purpose, but now we're able to use them in the context and they are even more powerful. So bring your questions. We're at the open QA time. So go ahead if you have anything you want to ask. This is the time to do it. If you are writing along with us, I would love to hear, even if you just want to give me like a quick little bit about what you're writing. I would love to know. I know someone else is writing a vampire too, and I'm super excited to hear her. I don't think she's here this evening. I would expect Bonnie to do a witch. And while we're waiting, let me see if I can pull up what I've been working on. I'll actually do it in another window. And feel free to ask questions because the floor is yours. While we're waiting on that, I wanted to show you this. I have been what they call vibe coding. And basically, it's for people who are non-coders to create apps, websites, all kinds of stuff. So I've been working on two big projects. The first being it's a prompt vault. So basically, it would allow users to save their prompts. So we actually have I added this stalker thriller from Merrick Gold in here. And I also added the Lester Dent framework as well. You're actually able to hit copy and be able to put it into your LLM of choice. So if you're working with Claude, if you're working with ChatGPT, Google, you can just grab the prompt and put it right in there. Um, so that is a personal prompt. There's also a prompt library. So I can share prompts. Also, members of the app will actually be able to submit prompts to share with other people, provided they meet the guidelines. And so you'll actually be able to save a copy of a prompt to your prompts, make changes to it, as well as copy those prompts as well. I may add things in like favoriting and stuff like that too. But this is just a very oh, you want the stalker thriller plot? That came from Marigold's thriller book, Thrillers in a Digital Age, I think. Um, yeah, I can't give that one away because it was something that I paid for. So, but I will say that that book is available on Kindle Unlimited. So if you have KU, you can get it. Um, I buy all of the Marigold books, cash money to support her. So, um, but yeah, all you do is create personal prompts, add the information, select your category, select your genre, or if there is no genre, you can put not genre specific, add some tags, and away you go. So I made that this week, and I'll actually be working on making it pretty because right now it's kind of ugly. And let's go. The other thing I am working on, let's see if it will let me in. Yes. So we were in a meeting the other day. I meet with um, the folks in the school community, the alliance. Uh, I was meeting with them once a week, but since it is, Bonnie said, okay, this one's a far. Oh, okay. Bonnie says she's got a Fae character instead of a witch. Okay. So I'm half right. Okay. They do have magical abilities. Okay. Awesome. So this one was one of the members of the community had said something, hey, I'm finishing my story, but what's next? So I decided to create something that makes it very obvious what happens next. So this is 100% AI created. I haven't had a chance to go in and change any of the text yet, but it will allow you to come in here and mark things off as you finish them. For each book that you're working on, so far I only have Return to Sender in here. It'll show you your percentage complete. It's based on my book in a week framework. For those of you who are in the community, you've seen my templates on book in a week. And then you'll also be able to track your books here as well, add new books, and whatnot. So I started this the other day. No one has seen this yet. So, well, you guys maybe saw a screen capture if you were in Discord, but yep, that is what I'm working on. Again, I've trying to learn Figma because they all look the same on Lovable, and I want it to not look like crap. But it's a lot of fun. So that's how I've been de-stressing is vibe coding. That's what they call it on the YouTube. The YouTube. Well, I guess we had no questions. We can either end early, a couple minutes early. I actually got through everything on my list. That's never happened. Wow. I apparently need to talk more. Yeah. I'll leave it another minute if anyone has questions. But yeah, I think that one, Alicia, is from Thrillers in the Digital Age. She has 2 thriller ones, um, but I think that's the one it was from. I will say that a couple more people have started using Suno to create, um, soundtracks for their books. Alicia's the one who got me in it. It was exciting to create this one for Done and Delivered. And then, I know another author who I don't think she's here today, but, she also started using Suno, to create a soundtrack for her book. And she's doing it actually on Substack. So, yeah, I think that's it for today then. Any last questions? Otherwise, I'm gonna end it early and I'm gonna go read. I deserve it. Well, thank you guys for coming today. Um, if you have anything comes up this week, put it in the comments. Hopefully next week we will start with the outline and we will start figuring out all of the extra characters that we need to add for secondary characters and the minor characters as well to start adding to this world. Absolutely, Master Mari. Uh, I missed you guys being gone for 2 weeks. Okay, I will let you guys go. Have an amazing day and happy writing.